So you've never had the Wheeling feeling then, right, David?
Sure, I have not.
Well, we're excited. You might never leave. You may never go back to your hometown. You may stay here.
I consider this interview a deposition. Have you ever have not had a Wheeling pierogi? What's it called? What's the specific place?
Well, they're just all homemade here, and then a pepperoni roll. It's almost like a little calzone. But back in the day, like with all of the coal miners around here, the wives used to make these. They would just get bread, throw cheese and pepperoni in it, throw it in the oven, and then they'd send them down in the coal mines. It was such an easy snack. They're unbelievable. It's just cheese. It's literally just cheese and pepperoni and bread. But
so just a pepperoni roll. Okay.
When are you coming in?
What day is today? Guys, I'm traveling in 42 of the 52 weeks this year. Now, let's see here. Today is Friday. My daughter, I'm up in here in Colorado. My daughter goes to Boulder, so I'm going to go there. I think I'm flying Wednesday. Show's Thursday, right?
Good.
Yes.
Yep. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Wednesday. Yep.
Again, this is more of a quiz.
Yeah. All right, man. Let's get started then. Let's get rolling. Hey, very special guest, everybody. Welcome back to the Pine Room Studios. David Koechner will be at the Capitol Theater on Wednesday, September 25th for The Office trivia with Todd Packer at 7 p.m. and then a Q&A and meet and greet with the Pac-Man. Following trivia, stand up at 9:30 p.m. Koechner, an actor and comedian who's appeared in over 120 films and television shows. Koechner, born and raised out of Tipton, Missouri. Dave, I guess we should just start with this. Google has you listed at 6'2". Every show I've ever seen, you look about 6'5". So in another lifetime, do you think you're playing defensive end in the NFL?
Oh, no, never. Don't you have to be? Well, I'm not a real 6'5". I wear boots. That gives me a couple. And when I left high school, I was 5'10", 150 pounds. I'd say that's slight.
You'd be like a slot back.
Well, I had no footwork, no speed, nothing.
I think it's unbelievable in some of the films how big you look and then how elusive you are moving through. I want to know a little bit about this to get started. Grown up, blue collar, great family. You finally go to Chicago to get a chance, start taking those acting lessons, Saturday Night Live. When did you really know, like, hey, I'm the funniest guy in the room, and if I put myself around other funny people and hard workers, that I can take off? When did that really sit with you, like, hey, I have a chance to do this?
I would say when I was growing up in the small town, obviously it was the thing I enjoyed most, which was being funny. But I don't think I ever thought I was the funniest guy in the room. I probably thought I was the funniest guy in the class, something like that. Yes, I was class clown, but we're talking about a high school that my graduating class had 63 people. So it was not a private school. So, you're not in an environment where necessarily you're challenged or you have the ability to meet a lot of other people that have the same proclivity you do, let's say, right? And is he still working?
Yeah, we can hear you. You're good. Okay. You're good.
Okay. I just heard one go. Okay. So, and then when I was in Chicago, I didn't know that I was with some of the most talented people that would ever be there at any time in life. When I met with the owner of the guy who started Second City in 1958, I had lunch with him before I left town to go to Saturday Night Live. He said he'd never seen such a huge group, never seen such a confluence of talent as had been there in the previous 9 years. So when I came up, I started with Chris Farley. We were in the same classes together. Wow. So now I'm not the funniest guy, right? No one's funnier than Chris Farley. And I do remember you do compare yourself, although as the Stoics say, comparison is the thief of joy, but this is a different metric you're applying. It's not personal. It is, am I keeping up with my peers? And I would always remind myself of that and check in. And yes, I was always keeping up with my peers and surpassing some others. So I always felt like I was in this sounds egotistical, but it's true. I was in an elite group of performers at the time. And then as time went on, look, I was there with Carell, Colbert, Tina Fey, Andy Richter. It was incredible. Rachel Dratch, Horatio Sands. There is a phalanx of writers that people won't know by first name, but virtually all of Conan's staff for 10 years all were buddies of mine from Chicago. Now they've gone on to run Colbert Show. They've gone on to run Seth Meyers. So there's a bunch, I'd say there's 20 writers that aren't household names that were there at the same time too, that ended up having a different path that wasn't necessarily on stage or screen, but they were writing all this funny stuff behind scenes. So it was really an incredible time. In fact, I wrote the list down, and today, after this show, I'm not going to help you. I should just write down, just rattle off the list, have it in my head, or maybe I'll laminate it and put it on a card this size, and then try to read it. But so, yeah, that really made a big difference. You're cutting your teeth with the greats, and you don't even know it.
You know, you had some unbelievable producers, and just the amount of sets you've been on that people know and have seen. When you get on these sets, do these producers kind of just let the best actors and actresses and the funniest people in the room just go, right? They're giving you a script and they're saying, hey, this is what we kind of want you to do, but you're all naturals, God-given talent. Do they kind of just let you go at some point?
That particular thing only happens in Adam McKay films. Because Adam was a friend of mine from Second City in Chicago. And then he knew he'd assembled a group of people that could improvise for Anchorman. And so the rule of thumb was we'd shoot as written at least three takes. And then McKay would say, let's let the squirrel out of the bag. And then we would improvise. And I really do believe that's what chemically charged that movie in a different way. When you watch Anchorman, it's not like other comedies. Not only is it pretending to be a dumb movie, it's a very sharp satire inside this candy, right? And also it's got this chemical charge going on because we're improvising so much. You actually have to listen when you're improvising. You know, when you're an actor, you're supposed to be actively listening. That's your job. But what you're doing is like, oh, his mouth stopped. I guess it's my line. But, you know, when you're improvising, you're really listening. It's like this conversation. Right.
Awesome.
I don't know what's going to happen. So you really have to be engaged.
Dave, we got a couple other guys off camera here. Can you share any other instances where you were improvising? I know you said that it kind of only happened in those films. Were there any other scenes that you can remember that where you were just improvising and it actually worked?
I'm sure there's dozens. When it comes to that, what you do is you check in with the director. And then you might have a few ideas you might give him. I think I improvised a little bit on Extract, like Mike Judge would allow it, right? All right. You just say a few extra little things. I remember Bateman and I had several exchanges that weren't necessarily scripted, and Kristen Wiig was in there too. And so there's a few like that. Extract's one of my favorites because I got to play this annoying nudge of a neighbor that was just delicious. It was so much fun. And Bateman plays the exhausted character so well, right? That he's just trying to get through life like most humans, right? He's such a great audience representative, if you will.
At what point do you see, or did you see comedy change? You know, because obviously what you might have did in 2000 compared to what you do in 2024 is a little bit different. Still the hilarious dude, but do the jokes change? Does the deliver change? When did you see it really like you had to adapt as an actor and a comedian?
Well, of course, you know, if you're in a movie or a TV show, it's up to them to change it, right? Everybody keeps saying The Office couldn't be made today. I refute that, saying, so you have to write a little harder.
Yeah.
There's still a line. So the line's moved a little bit. You can't say some of those things, right? I used to do this character that happened to be gay, but it in no way was offensive. And it was a lovely character that everyone absolutely adored because it was just this guy who thought he was, you know, extra special more than everybody else, but his mom was paying his rent. So, you know, it's like a lot of people in life, but because it's me representing a gay person on stage, I would feel the audience tighten up, even though it's like, I'm not making fun of any particular gender or sexual point of view. It just happens to be this character. but I would feel the audience tighten. And I would say that was about 5 years ago. I noticed like, oh shit, they're not ready for this.
What about the cultural impact here of Todd Packer and Champ Kind? At some point, is it something where you're like, hey, for life, this is me? Or does it kind of get to the point to where, hey, I want to talk about something else? Because I mean, at the point when you were doing those episodes in those movies, did you know that it was going to be some of the best ever?
You don't know, because that would be, you're just trying your best, but you don't know. You hope. When we were shooting Anchorman, I thought this is the funniest movie of all time. I mean, but it wasn't a hit at the box office initially. It didn't become super popular until cable and DVD. So that's the one I thought, this is amazing. And you hope that your character will be recognized as well as the rest of them. But no, I will never look. I am grateful for Todd Packer and Champ Kind. I will never run from that. If that's what it takes, that's what it takes. Look, not to be an a-hole, but I have two that people remember. Now, there's other ones that are kind of underground cult classics. Out Cold, there's a character called Stumpy, the manager in Waiting. So I've been very blessed to have more than one iconic character. So why would you run from it? And plus that, look, if Anchorman became a television series and I played Champ Kind for the rest of my life, how happy would I be?
Can we make that happen? Who got a call to get that to work?
I thought it was you.
Is there any chance we get another Anchorman movie at some point?
I don't think so.
Oh man, I would absolutely love that.
Oh, trust me. Trust me.
Hey Dave, we all played college baseball. We would get on these buses, 4 or 5 hour trips. First movie that would come on, either Anchorman or Anchorman 2. They would play for hours on these bus trips, and people would be in tears. We're supposed to be getting ready, looking at scouting reports, and we're sitting there pissing ourselves.
Yeah.
That's lovely. It's one you can watch over and over again and always find something new, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Coach.
David, when you started stand-up comedy way back in the day, was it did you ever get a day? I've always wondered this when I see stand-up comedians. Was there a day where you knew that you didn't have it and the crowd was like, oh boy, this isn't going to work?
Yeah.
I hate to tell you, but there ain't a day that I don't got it. But I'll say that. So I only started doing stand-up 13 years ago when my 5th child was born. So now I was always doing improvisation. And so so before that, when I started improvisation in Chicago. So you're literally making it up as you go. And those can be some tough shows, where it's just crickets. And that's where you're still in your learning phase. So say early on, yes. Now, as far as stand-up, you do a lot of sets in town. And then you're in town, in LA. That's where you're gonna probably be a little bit more experimental, and things work or they don't. But then you've got the rest of your hour already in your head, and you're gonna come up with something else that you can get out with a laugh, because everybody has a closer, right? That should work by now. There have been times when I'm on the road and I'll think of a joke that day that I think is very funny and this will work. And then no one laughs. Yeah. And you're like, oh. And then you realize you didn't give them the right handle or something, I remember my kids had DoorDash. So my kids do have my credit card on their phones, but it's for emergencies only. Like, I don't want my kid to be stuck somewhere and they don't have cash, and then at least they have access to finance. But then I'll be out of town and I'll see someone has DoorDash, and I don't know who it is. So I once started a show, and I thought, here's how I'll start. And I just went out and did a grave voice to the microphone. Don't DoorDash on me. Don't you dare And the audience is like, what? What's going? Like, they had no context. I thought everybody would understand. Don't DoorDash on me. How dare you? Why don't you make yourself an effing peanut butter and jelly sandwich before you spend $35 for McDonald's?
Yeah, sounds right.
I'm guilty.
But the audience is just like, what's going on here? I think they're always thinking Champ's coming. not Koechner.
Yeah.
But, you know, I make them wait for Champ. I do put it in every show, of course. There is Champ and there is Todd Packer in every show.
Do the ideas do the ideas come to you when you're flying, when you're driving, when you're cutting grass, and you say, "Oh man, I like
everywhere."
that.
Yes. I had a full bit come to me in the shower once. Sometimes it's when you're driving and it doesn't work. I don't know how randy I can be on the show. I was in LA and there's a billboard that says it's just got eyes on the billboard. And it's got this weird collage of purple in the background. And the big title underneath was, "I Gonorrhea is on the rise in LA." Now, to me, the joke is, I gonorrhea? How do you get I gonorrhea? And then I go, oh, and people didn't get it. That just means, you know, someone is clearly putting their leavings in your eye. I thought the joke was obvious. So it
That's
could be,
awesome.
and that one didn't work at all. Like, how do you think you get eye gonorrhea? Can I say the word? Is this?
You can say whatever you want. You're good.
How do you get eye gonorrhea? Someone came in your eye. but like that's, you know, sometimes like you didn't put it together right, or maybe that's too much for people to take. So maybe that's a line. You know,
have you ever had like the crowd that you walk away and say, wow, that was really a fun crowd, or is it basically the same all the time? Is it somewhere you say, man, I'd love to go back there because they were so interactive and they just seemed, the energy was incredible?
That I'm happy to report that happens often enough that it's consistent. If if it's only one town you're good in, you're not good.
Yeah.
You know. So over the weekend, I will do. So I'm doing 2 shows in Wheeling. Both those crowds will be different, and both of them might respond a different way, and you don't know why. It's just the crowd that it is. Early on when I was doing learning from Del Close, he would say, never blame the crowd. Treat the audience like poets and artists, and then they have a chance to become them. But if you treat them or with disdain, or you discount them and treat them like swine, that's what you're going to get. So you always want to try to play at the top of your intelligence, even if you're telling a cum joke. But yeah, most crowds are great. Every once in a while, you're like me and Rob, my opener, Rob. We've been touring together 8 years because it's just easier for me. We do a really great hour-and-a-half show, and we do about 8 minutes together in the middle of the show, after his and before mine. So it's pretty unique and it's fun. But he and I will generally have the same experience. If the crowd's hot, it's hot for both of us. If it's not, you're like, yeah, it was a tough one. And a lot of times, the old adage in comedy is, why did Steve Martin quit doing comedy? Because of the Friday Night Late Show, which is not true, because Steve Martin quickly got to stadiums. So that's just what attributed to him. But typically the Friday Night Late Show is because people have been working all day. They started pre-gaming early. They're very tired and very drunk by the time you go on stage.
That is amazing. Well, I want to go off of tough crowds. You've had a very large range of roles in your career. Has there been any roles or characters or projects that you've done that have kind of pushed you out of your comfort zone, that have been tough, and you've had to kind of adapt to how you usually do your work?
Well, usually it's not. Sometimes it can be a director that you just don't quite understand. But typically, if you're doing your job, you should know how to do your character. Now, I've done a couple of dramas recently, and that pushes you out of your comfort zone because that's not what I'm used to doing. You don't want to be out there going, oh man, I just don't want to look bad. I'll tell you this. There's a movie right now called Ganymede on Apple TV, Ganymede. And here's what the log line is, fellas. Hold on to your hats. It is a queer Southern Gothic coming of age story with a horror twist. Wow. Now that's a very niche audience, fellas.
Wow. Whoa.
And so I play this preacher, and he's a nasty person. And Joe Crest from Stranger Things is in it. And he and I hit it off because we're both journeyman character actors. And I do this scene where I am this preacher in this very small church. And it's one of those, really out there churches. And I'm up there screaming about homosexuality and lesbians. And I'm doing this. And I see Joe and the other kid, Jordan, laughing their fucking ass off. And I'm thinking, oh no, I look like a fool, right? And I'll just tell you this. Joe is very kind. He said, I'm sorry we were laughing so hard, but of course, I had improvised a few pieces in there, and that's what they were laughing about. And again, Joe said, that's one of that's one of the top 5 performances I've ever watched
That's awesome.
as an actor. And I was like, oh, thank God. Because I was like, I'm looking like a fool up here. But he was very kind in reassuring me that. And then I had my kids watch the movie with me. And again, I did a good job.
Speaking of like laughing while other people are on set, I mean, comebacks, unbelievable movie, in tears the entire movie. I want to talk about Talladega Nights for a second. At any point while you're on set, does Will Ferrell do anything, or that whole cast, is anyone doing anything that you're just standing back there in tears laughing? Like, I can't believe I'm sitting here listening to these dudes. Or are you doing anything that are making them in tears? Like, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, Will will always get you. Will, I mean, just even if you know it's coming, you don't know the delivery he's going to do. And you're like, wow, he's always so committed, so powerful. There's always something. Ian Roberts is in the film, and he's one of the pit crew members. And he has this scene with, Dave, come on. He's the young kid from Georgia's was on Tina Fey's show. Why can't I remember his name? Anyway, they had several improvised scenes where Ian would just be destroying because he plays a straight man and he's so funny. There's a scene that got cut. Will and I were in a car he was giving me a ride home and we're having a moment. And then my character, we were allowed to improvise. And I don't know if it's on any DVD extras or something like that, but I was trying to get him to drop me off at an ATM. And he's like, I can't. This is where you live. I'm not going to drive you around. And then I get really testy with him about it. That was very funny. So sometimes some of the stuff that makes you laugh the hardest doesn't make it into a film. But, it just, the edit will tell you it belongs or it doesn't. So
yeah, that's sort of a segue of what I was going to ask. And I can't end this without asking a little bit about The Office, because I'm a huge Office fan. I watch it every day. It's just an incredible show, and it just makes me laugh for the stupidest reasons. And people say, why you laugh? And there's little things that you catch in there after you watch it for a while that are incredible. And sometimes I'll just watch the outtakes and the bloopers, and that makes me laugh just incredible. Have you ever had those that going back to what they asked on with Carell or Rainn Wilson or Krasinski, that any of those guys that are like, I can't go on because I'm laughing too hard.
Oh, me personally, I kind of pride myself on being the guy that doesn't break, but I'm going to try and break you,
right.
Or you're able to get through it and then you get here cut and then you both laugh. Because like, wow, what we did was just ridiculous just now. That you're able to maintain it through. You landed the plane, and then you laugh that you landed it. That happens often too. Yeah.
How's Rainn Wilson to work with?
Lovely. A couple of years ago, Rainn calls me out of the blue and wanted to have breakfast, and I said, okay. And we have a delightful breakfast talking about life, kids, whatever. And at the end, I said, was there something you wanted to talk about? Because, you're meeting with right? You're like, and here's what Rainn says to me. I think we should be friends. It's so sweet. But I was like, I thought I hadn't seen him, right? In a long time. And out of the blue, he calls me and says, let's up. So I was like, and then to end it with, I think we should be friends, with just the sweetest thing ever. So
that is awesome.
That's great.
Yeah, he's wonderful.
David, I got one. This is a question from one of our other guys. He says, given your experience, if you were to teach a class on comedic acting or improv, what would be the core lesson or principle you'd want students to take away from it? It's kind of a tough question for you.
Well, you're talking about two different disciplines. Improvisation is all about listening and forwarding the scene. It's a great day. It's the best day I've ever seen, right? You've got to heighten the last thing said. This is a bad day. I've never seen one worse, right? And then you dig down there. It's that simple in improvisation, right? Careful, that's hot. So you go, you've got to grab it. Then it's hot. Well, I told you it's hot. Well, the way you said it didn't really mean hot. Yes, it did. So you're agreeing and heightening on the thing that the person's talking about. You don't go. Someone doesn't go. Well, it's a beautiful day. Oh yeah. Here's your birthday cake or whatever. It's like that. No, you got to go on the last thing. Or someone goes, yeah, we should finish jumping out of this plane. Like, what's happening? Yeah. Some people you can't go for the laugh. Go for the scene first. Now, as far as acting goes, you've got to find the thing about the script has all the secrets. The script has all of the information you need. It's your job to dig it out of there in a truthful and honest manner. And however you personally get there is how do you make it work, right? By the time you're my age, I've had so much life experience that I can compare something going on in a scene to something that's happening. Or what will happen is you'll read a scene and something will physically come up inside you that kind of tells you, oh, I know what this scene needs. And you have to play it a certain way. That's all I could say. But I would be a terrible teacher because here I've been talking about 5 minutes, what I should have said in 2 lines. And now the whole class is asleep. That's not my calling. Teaching is not my calling.
You've obviously been a part of some great movies and stuff, but you've also dabbled in some voice acting roles too. What has been like the biggest difference between those, and do you enjoy one or the other more?
I enjoy live performance probably the best, movies second, TV third, and voice acting fourth. I mean, just if I had to rank them, and I felt, again, this is a deposition, so I did have to rank them. Voice acting, you've got the director and they'll keep coaching you through the line again and again because it's very specific where they need it to land and how they need it to be done. And there's a range of different types of directors that work different ways. And then sometimes it's almost like this. Pardon me. In voice acting, it's almost like the director or the showrunner already has the musical chart in their head of how this should be said. And so they might give you notes to hit that note, like say it a little lighter, a little softer, a little harder, whatever it is, or ramp up into that kind of thing where you have a little bit more liberty when you're doing live that you won't get as many notes. I'm not complaining about it. It's just the nature of that particular business.
Hey, Dave.
Yes.
Dave, I want to end with this. We're gonna let you roll. CapitolTheaterWheeling.com next Wednesday, September the 25th. Office trivia with Todd Packer, and then stand up at 9:30. You have, let's just say, over the last 25 years, you have 3 honorary championships here with the Chiefs. Do you get tired of whooping everyone's ass recently, or how's this gonna how much longer is Pat Mahomes gonna get away with this?
A very long time, sir. I remember the first Super Bowl the Chiefs were in. I was very young. And then it took us 50 years to get our second one. So guess what? Strap in, fellas. We ain't going nowhere.
What about these young guys like Xavier Worthy? Unbelievable to watch. Can absolutely fly right now. Anyone you're having fun watching? I know the season just started, but it's gonna piss me off if the Chiefs keep winning as much as they are. What guys do you like watching?
I hope you're very angry by the end of the season. Well, I'm so bummed out. Pacheco got hurt.
Yeah.
He's my favorite. I mean, to watch Pacheco run is it's awesome. That's pure delight.
He looks like he looks like his mom just bought him like new sneakers from Finish Line every time.
That's very funny. I never heard that one. That's perfect. That's exactly what it's like. Look how fast I am. That's a beautiful.
What about
analogy,
Carson
sir?
Steele? They said Carson Steele has a pet alligator. Did you see that yet? The rookie running back. They said he grew up with this alligator. The alligator's like 18 years old now, and he has to. Yeah, you got to look that up. Carson Steele alligator. Check that out.
Where does he keep it?
I don't know. ESPN had something on it, and this thing is huge. It's got like whatever they got to put around its mouth so it can't eat people. And he's holding, Steele's holding this alligator in his hands like this, walking around.
That's amazing. You know, we just signed Kareem Hunt back this week.
Yeah, he's a guaranteed touchdown every time he touches the ball.
I would hope. He was so much fun, and you know, the thing that happened, I think we could probably all litigate one way or the other. And it's too bad that it had to go, but you know, there has to be respect and all that stuff. But I'm glad that he's paid his penance and gotten through it. I hope everything's good in his life, but that's exciting to see. And he might play this week. So.
Absolutely. All right, man. We appreciate your time. We're looking forward to you getting to Wheeling. Everyone go to capitaltheaterwheeling.com. Dave Koechner here in the friendly city. Pierogies and pepperoni rolls coming your way, Dave. We appreciate your time, man.
I love it. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
We'll see you soon.
Right.
Thanks.
Dave.
See you, Dave.
All right.